My dear friends, in this great adventure of the Spirit, there comes a moment, a silent and profound moment, when the universe itself seems to hold its breath. It is not a moment you create, nor one you can demand. It arrives quietly, as a dawn you did not expect. And in that moment, an ancient question, one that has slept in the very marrow of your being, begins to stir. What if everything you have sought, every peace, every answer, every fulfillment, was not something to be acquired, but something to be recognized? What if the very presence you call God was not a distant monarch to be petitioned, but the very life of your life, the very consciousness of your awareness? What happens when the dream of separation ends and you awaken not to a new belief, but to the living, breathing, palpable reality of the Christ consciousness as your own? This is not about adding a new set of thoughts to the old mind. This is about the old mind falling away to reveal the one that was always there. It is a shift in identity so complete, so final, that the world itself is transformed because the one perceiving it has been reborn. We are not here to become spiritual. We are here to discover that we have always been, and always will be, Spirit itself. And so, if these words have found an echo within you, if there is a stirring in the depths of your soul, I invite you to take a sacred step with this community. Let your presence here be an altar of agreement, a silent nod to the truth we are exploring together. If you feel the call to go deeper into this infinite journey, consecrate that intention by subscribing to this channel. Let it be a symbol of your inner readiness to receive. And as a testimony that the word has been heard, that the seed has been planted, I ask you to leave a simple, symbolic number in the comments below. Let that number be 777, a sacred numeral representing the complete and perfect activity of Spirit, unfolding now in your own consciousness. Do not do this for me, but for yourself, as a silent affirmation that you are here, you are awake, and you are ready. This shift, this awakening, is the most practical event that can ever take place in a human life. It is not an escape from the world, but the discovery of the very substance of the world. You will still walk the same streets, but you will do so as a beholder of a grander landscape. You will still engage in your work, but the work will no longer be a burden. It will become a vehicle for the expression of this impelling consciousness. The same hands that prepare a meal or type on a keyboard will be recognized as instruments of an infinite life. And the very tasks that once felt mundane are suddenly imbued with a sacred purpose. The pressure to make things happen dissolves, and in its place, a gentle, unwavering assurance that life is living itself perfectly, and you are that very life. Consider the anxiety that so often accompanies providing for a family. The human scene shouts of lack, of uncertainty, of a future that is not secure. The mind races, calculating, worrying, striving. But in the awakening to Christ consciousness, a profound reorientation occurs. It is not that the bills cease to exist, but the source from which they are met is revealed. You stop looking at the limited resources in your hand and begin drawing from the infinite reservoir of your being. You move from being a beggar at the gate of supply to being the very embodiment of supply itself. This is the meaning behind those ancient words. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. It is not a promise that an external God will give you things. It is the revelation that your own true nature is the all-sustaining presence, and in that recognition, every need is met before it can even arise as a fear. This is the great secret, the open secret that has been hidden in plain sight. The kingdom of God is within you. It is not a location to which you will go, but a dimension of reality that you will see. It is the fabric of this very moment, perceived without the filter of the personal sense of I. When you are still, when the clamor of personal thought subsides, what remains? Is it not a vast, intelligent, loving silence? That silence is not empty, it is vibrant, potent, alive. It is the very substance of your being. It is the I am, Tate I am, that spoke out of the burning bush. It is the very core of your awareness. Before you are a man or a woman, before you are a success or a failure, before you are anything that can be named. This is why the Master said, before Abraham was, I am. He was not speaking of a historical personage named Jesus. He was revealing the truth of your own consciousness, the pure I am-ness that predates all form, all history, all identity. When you touch that, you are no longer a human being having a sporadic spiritual experience. You are spirit, having a temporary human experience. And from that vantage point, every challenge is transformed. A health challenge arises in the body. The old man, the Adamic dream of life in matter, trembles with fear. It consults the world, it seeks remedies, it lives in the shadow of prognosis. But when there is an awakening, a different response emerges. It is not a denial of the appearance, but a profound turning within to the only reality. You abide in the truth. I am the resurrection and the life. You do not say this as a human being hoping for a cure. You recognize it as the very life principle itself, declaring its own immortal nature. You rest in the unshakable knowing that the life that formed this universe is the very life that constitutes your body, and it is a perfect, harmonious, and eternal activity. The healing is not something that happens to the body. It is the body conforming to the harmony of its own divine source. Or consider a relationship fractured by betrayal or misunderstanding. The personal sense of I feels wounded, justified in its anger, and builds walls of resentment. It seeks apology, restitution, a change in the other person. This is the treadmill of humanhood, and it leads only to further separation. But when you awaken, you are no longer that wounded person. You are the silent, loving presence that beholds the entire scene without judgment. You see the other, not as a separate entity who has wronged you, but as a fellow consciousness, asleep in the dream of separation, acting out their own pain. From this place, forgiveness is not a difficult moral act. It is a natural byproduct of clarity. You cannot hold a grievance against an illusion. You begin to pray not for the person, but from the truth. Of the person, knowing their true identity as the Christ, whole and perfect, regardless of the costume they are wearing. Love your enemies, then becomes not a command, but a simple description of what happens when you see no enemies, only the one Christ in a multitude of forms. This is the impelling force that the Master felt when he said, "I must be about my Father's business." It is not a duty. It is an irresistible compulsion of the awakened life. It is the artesian well within that must overflow. You will find yourself drawn to be a transparency for this love, this intelligence, this peace, not because you are trying to be good, but because it is the natural expression of what you are. Your very presence becomes a benediction, a healing influence, without you ever uttering a word or performing a deed. You become a quiet center in the storm of the world, not by effort, but by nature. And so the journey deepens. It is not a path of accumulating knowledge, but of shedding ignorance. It is a path of listening, of beholding, of yielding. The great work is to still the mind, to quiet the incessant chatter of the personal self, so that this divine impulse can have its way with you. It will lead you. It will guide you. It will provide the words to speak and the actions to take. Your only responsibility is to be still and know. For when this realization begins to dawn, it does not ask for your belief. It demands your surrender. It asks you to die to everything you thought you were, to every plan you ever made, to every concept of God you ever held, to stand naked in faith in the terrifying and glorious void before creation, where only the great I Am reigns, and to discover in that absolute silence that you have not been lost but found. And so you stand there at the precipice of your own being, having relinquished everything you thought was your identity. This is where the real journey begins, not in the sky, but right here in the marketplace of your daily life. For this consciousness to be real, it must function. It must be the very bread you eat, the water you drink, the intelligence with which you meet every circumstance. It is not enough to have a glorious glimpse in the silence. That silence must now walk with you into the noise of the world and transform it. This is the great transition from being a student of truth to being the very embodiment of truth itself. You are no longer seeking a power outside yourself to intervene in your affairs. You are coming to rest in the unshakable, knowing that the I that I am is the only power there is. When a problem arises, whether it is a conflict at work or a malfunctioning machine, the old habit of the mind is to scramble, to analyze, to figure it out from the limited repository of personal knowledge. But the awakened state responds differently. It turns within. It becomes still. It does not pray, "Oh God, please fix this," for that would be acknowledging a power apart from God. Instead, it abides in the truth, "I am the Lord, and there is none else." It waits in a state of open receptivity for the solution to unfold from the infinite intelligence of its own being. And it always comes. It may come as a sudden idea, a phone call from an unexpected person, or a spontaneous rearrangement of circumstances. The how is not your concern. Your only concern is to abide in the I am and let the I am be the all in all. This is the practical demonstration of the truth that sets you free. Think of the times you have struggled to find the right words for a difficult conversation. The personal mind rehearses, worries, and anticipates conflict. But when you approach that moment from the Christ consciousness, you go in naked of premeditation. You still your mind and you acknowledge, it is not I, but the Father within me that does the work. You become a listener and then a speaker, but the words that flow through you carry a weight and a grace that are not your own. They are the words of the Spirit, and they have the power to dissolve tension and reveal harmony where only discord seemed to be. This is the true meaning of supply. The world believes supply is money in a bank, a paycheck, an investment. But these are only effects, symbols of a deeper substance. The substance itself is divine consciousness manifesting as idea. Your needs are not for things, but for the right ideas to manifest as things. When you have a need, you are not lacking a material object. You are lacking the visible form of an idea that already exists in the infinite mind of the I am. Your work is not to labor for money, but to be such a clear transparency for this consciousness that the ideas flow to you and through you, and these ideas, when acted upon, naturally clothe themselves in the necessary form. The farmer does not make the seed grow, he provides the conditions, and the intelligence within the seed does the rest. Your role is to provide the condition of a still and receptive mind, and the infinite intelligence will manifest its own perfect idea as your experience. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The kingdom is this conscious oneness, and the all things are the forms that this one substance must take to fulfill the divine plan. Do not mistake this for a passive state. It is the most dynamic activity in the universe, but it is an activity that is impelled, not compelled. You will find yourself moving, but you will feel moved. You will find yourself speaking, but you will hear the words as if for the first time. The weight of personal responsibility is lifted, for you are not the doer. The sense of strain and struggle evaporates, because you are not pushing the river, you are flowing with it. You are the instrument, and the great musician is playing the symphony of your life. And what of the body? In this light, the body is not a fragile sack of flesh and bone that you must protect and heal. It is the visible, tangible evidence of your state of consciousness. It is the outpicturing of your beliefs. When you are rooted in the truth of your being as spiritual, perfect, and whole, the body must bear witness to that harmony. It cannot do otherwise. It is not you personally holding a thought of health. It is you abiding in the consciousness that is health itself. The body then becomes a temple in the truest sense. Not a temple you visit, but a temple that you are, through which the glory of the I am is made visible to the world. I am fearfully and wonderfully made becomes a living reality, not a hopeful verse. This is how you live without an enemy, without opposition. when you no longer see other people as separate powers capable of helping or hindering your good, you are free from the entire world of human relations. You see the Christ in the stranger, the friend, and even in the one who appears as an adversary. You are not interacting with persons. You are beholding the one divine identity appearing as a multitude of forms. Your relationship is with God, and since God is individual being, your relationship with everyone and everything is harmonious, peaceful, and loving. There is no one to fight, no one to convince, no one to fear. This is the path. It is the ultimate adventure, for you are not going anywhere, but you are discovering the infinite depths of where you have always been. And as this realization deepens, it will begin to demand everything of you. It will ask you to relinquish the final, most subtle vestiges of your personal will, your cherished opinions about how your life should look, your secret desires for specific outcomes. It will ask you to walk into the complete unknown with no map but the inner light, no guide but the silent voice, no security but the rock of your own eye, Amness. This final surrender, this walking into the unknown, is not a leap into darkness, but a step into a light so brilliant it has been mistaken for darkness by the human sense. It is the ultimate solution to every problem, for it is the dissolution of the problem itself. The problem was never the circumstance. It was the belief that there was a power in the circumstance, separate from God. The moment you fully accept that the I that I am is the only power, the only presence, and the only activity, the universe must reorganize itself to bear witness to this truth. This is not a philosophy to be understood, but activity to be lived, and it requires a specific, disciplined approach to consciousness. The primary practice, the very foundation upon which this entire structure rests, is the art of inner stillness. This is not a meditation of concentration or one that seeks a specific experience. It is a gentle, firm withdrawal of attention from the outer world of effects, from the body's sensations, the mind's chatter, the world's news, and a conscious centering within upon the very awareness that is reading these words. You are not seeking a feeling. You are acknowledging a fact. I am awareness. I am consciousness. I am. In this sacred silence, you are not a man or a woman praying to God. You are the very I am, conscious of itself. You sit not to gain anything, but to let the illusion of a separate self fall away, revealing the eternal presence that was always there. Be still and know that I am God. This is your work. Do this not for 10 minutes a day, but let it become the constant, underlying rhythm of your life, the unspoken backdrop against which all activity plays out. From this foundation, you engage in a specific form of prayer. This prayer has no petitions. It does not ask for things, for healing, or for changes in the outer scene. It is the prayer of acknowledgement, of recognition. When a problem appears, be it a financial lack, a bodily ailment, or a relationship conflict, you do not run from it or fight it. You turn within and you acknowledge the truth. You do not say, "Please, God, fix my body." Instead, You abide in the silence until you can truthfully feel, I am the resurrection and the life. You are not a sick person hoping for health. You are the very substance of life itself, declaring its own nature. When faced with a lack, you do not pray for money. You go within and realize, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. You are not a poor person hoping for wealth. You are the very source of supply, conscious of its own infinite capacity to form itself as every needful thing. This is the great work. It is the work of replacing the testimony of the senses with the word of truth. The senses scream of sickness, but you, from the depths of your being, acknowledge health as the only reality of your being. The world shouts of war and hatred, but you, in the quiet of your own consciousness, acknowledge the peace that passes all understanding as the only power reigning in the experience of everyone involved. You are not ignoring the appearance. You are seeing through it to the reality that constitutes it. You are a transparency through which the harmony of heaven is revealed on earth. This is the meaning of Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. You are the very point where that will is consciously realized and made manifest. Let this practice extend to your every interaction. When you meet another, do not meet them as a personality with a history and a set of problems. Close the eyes of the body for a fleeting second and open the eyes of the spirit. Acknowledge the Christ of that individual. See them not as they appear, but as they eternally are, whole, perfect, complete, and radiant with the light of the I Am. You will not be dealing with a human being. You will be in communion with the Christ. And the human scene will inevitably transform to reflect this truth. This is the most powerful healing ministry there is. It requires no words, no laying on of hands, only a purified vision that sees only God. This path demands everything because it offers everything. It will systematically strip you of every crutch, every external dependency, every concept that you have clung to for security. It will leave you naked with only your own eye. Ness as your companion, your guide, and your substance. And just when you feel you cannot go on, when the last vestige of your personal sense is screaming in protest, you will make the final discovery. You will realize that this I Am that you are is not a small, individual spark separate from the great I Am. You will see that there is only one I Am in all the universe, and that every apparent you and me is but a unique focal point of that one infinite consciousness. The sense of separation, the root of all fear and suffering, will vanish not as an idea, but as an actual experience. You will know, not believe, that you and the Father are one. And in that moment, you will understand that the journey is over, because you were never anywhere else but home. And now, the final veil trembles. For if this is true, if you are indeed the very Christ of God, then the life you are living is not your own. The breath you breathe is not yours. The love you feel is not a personal emotion. It is God being God as you. There is no longer a you to be saved, to be healed, to be enlightened. There is only the eternal is-ness, celebrating its own infinite perfection in, as, and through this form you once called yourself. The observer and the observed become one. The prayer and the answer are revealed as the same thing. And you are left standing at the very center of creation, where the only sound is the silent, thunderous roar of I am, and you know, with a certainty that shatters every last doubt, that this is the first and only moment that has ever been. And so you stand at the very center of creation, where the I am is the only reality, and the world you see is but a shadow cast by the light of your own consciousness. This is not an ending, but the true beginning of living. Now, the practical demonstration of this truth becomes the entire purpose of your existence. It is no longer a theory to be contemplated in quiet moments, but a loom upon which the very fabric of your daily experience is woven. Every encounter, every task, every breath becomes an opportunity to bear witness to this miracle. This is where the Master's words become your lived reality. I can of mine own self do nothing. You will walk through your days not as a solitary actor, but as a conscious instrument. The businessman does not go to his meetings armed with personal cunning and strategy. He goes in the silent, knowing that the same infinite intelligence that organizes the galaxies is now conducting this negotiation, and his only role is to be still and listen for the impulsion. The artist does not struggle to find creativity. She understands that she is a vessel through which the beauty of the formless is seeking expression in form. The parent does not rely on personal history or psychology to raise a child. He turns within to the one father, the one mother, and allows that divine parenthood to express itself as infinite patience, wisdom, and love. The sense of a personal door dissolves, and in its place is a profound, peaceful activity that is performed through you, not by you. This understanding transforms your relationship with time itself. The human mind lives in the prison of past and future, burdened by regret and anxious with anticipation. But the Christ consciousness knows only the eternal now. It does not draw from the limited reservoir of past experience. It is a constant spring of spontaneous intelligence, welling up fresh and new in every moment. When a challenge arises, you will find that you do not search your memory for a solution. Instead, you become still, you acknowledge, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and you wait. The answer will come not from your past, but from the timeless realm of the within, perfectly suited for the need of the hour. You are freed from the tyranny of the clock, living instead in the rhythm of an eternal providence that is always on time. Consider the weight of responsibility that crushes the human spirit, the belief that you are personally responsible for your success, your family's well-being, your own happiness. This is the great burden from which the Christ comes to set you free. You are not responsible thus for God's work. You are responsible to it. Your responsibility is to maintain the transparency of your consciousness, to keep the window clean so that the divine light may shine through unobstructed. The pressure to make things happen is replaced by the joy of watching things unfold. You are the witness, the beholder, the enjoyer of God's infinite play. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. This is not a metaphor. It is the practical reality of a life lived from the Christ center. The burden was always the illusion of a separate self, and that illusion has now been consumed in the fire of truth. And what of the world's turmoil? The wars, the injustices, the suffering that scream from the headlines.